Let's move on to question 1.2. Okay, so it says Kumo is planning an event to raise funds for needy learners. Part of her plan is to find a suitable venue for about 200 to 300 people. She obtains quotations from 3 different service providers. Each venue had a fixed rental cost as well as a variable cost per person. So basically, you pay a certain amount for the venue and then you pay an amount per person that is actually attending the event. Okay, so they give us this table. Here's the different venues. Here's the fixed amount that you would pay regardless of how many people came. And then this is the amount that you would pay per person attending. So it says the graphs representing the cost of the 3 venues are given on the answer sheet. So answer sheet's at the back of your paper. Make sure that you have it. So here's the answer sheet. Please remember always to fill in your sense number, your examination number, and we're going to use this graph as part of our answering. So let's look here. Explain, so just use the information in the table above and the graphs in the answer sheet. So importantly here, you're using the graphs as well. Students often forget to read that and then they're trying to answer questions and they don't even have the full information, right? So be careful. On answer sheet 1, to answer the questions that follow. Explain the term variable cost in this context. Okay, so variable cost in this context is talking about, right, a cost that changes depending on the number of people that are attending, right? So let's just make sure, sorry, that's the previous question, right? So let's do this, 1.2.1. Please make always sure to label correctly, right? You can just say cost that changes, right? Basically, it's not fixed, depending on number of people attending the event. Okay, make sure that you write it out so that it's understandable enough, right? Because it's 2 marks. You don't want to lose marks for things that are actually fairly easy to score on. Okay, let's look here. So then it says calculate the exact total cost of renting the beach hotel venue for 230 people. Okay, and it's the beach hotel. So we know that we're not going to use Avon or Castle. We're going to look at beach hotel, and we've given us a little formula here. So we're going to say total cost, just using the formula. So total cost here is a fixed cost. So what is the fixed cost for the beach hotel? It is 6,000 Rand. So put that in, right? And then it says 230, because 230 is the number of people who are going to attend. And what is the variable cost of the beach hotel? It is 45 Rand. Okay, then just go put that into your calculator. Always be careful that you are typing this incorrectly. That's a very common mistake, right? And there is your answer, right? So it would cost, please remember your Rand values here, that much. Okay, just be careful that you are writing things out fully, and that is that question done. Not a difficult thing, but again, just testing whether you understand the difference between fixed and variable costs. Okay, let's look at 1.2.3. 1.2.3, it says determine the cheapest venue if only 90 people attend the event, right? Now you could be saying, oh, now what must I do? It is not on the table. But remember, there's another source of information for us, which is our graph. Don't forget about that, right? So for this question here, we're going to use the graph that's at the back of our paper, right? So it says the cheapest venue if only 90 persons attend. So let's just make sure that we understand this, okay? I'm going to just use some highlighters to help us out. Right, that's Avon. So Avon is this one here. Okay, remember color is always helpful because sometimes if you don't have color, you kind of don't know what it is that you are necessarily looking at. So there's beach, and then let's look at castle. Okay, right. So now it says, now we have that, right? Let's just make sure we understand. Here's the amount in Rand. So this is the cost, and this is the number of people. Obviously, as the number of people increase, so does the cost, because we know that with each person, you have an additional cost, okay? You could be saying, well, why do they start at these places? Well, remember, there's a fixed cost that you have to pay for each of these venues, even when no people are coming, right? And that's basically saying when there's no people, you have to pay this fixed cost. So that's what we're looking at. Let's now go back to the question and make sure that we understand. So it says the cheapest venue if only 90 people attend the event. Okay, so let's go here, number of persons. Let's track across number of persons. 90 is over here, right? Let me get this over here. There's 90. Track it up. You can use a ruler if you want. Okay, and what is the cheapest? Well, at 90, it looks like the green there is just under the yellow, right? It's a little bit difficult to see, but I would say that it is Avon, right? So Avon is slightly cheaper than Beach. Okay, so that is what they want you to do, this element of graph interpretation. So put that there and say Avon. Okay, let's now look at our next question. Our next question says, the maximum number of people that can attend the event if the total cost of the venue is 15,000. So here we're going to go back to our graph and say, okay, here's our graph. But let's make sure that we're getting this right. Here's 15,000. That's how much we're going to pay. What's the maximum number of people, right? So let's go across here. There's the first number of people, but that's not my max, right? That is my min. If I keep going, where do I get to my last service provider? It's this yellow one, and it is Beach, right? So my maximum amount, it's at Beach, but they didn't ask us for the service provider. They said, what is the maximum number of people if we are paying 15,000 Rand? Well, a maximum number of people is 200 people at Beach, right? So you don't have to mention Beach at all. You just have to say 200. If you want to say at Beach, you can, right? But you must make sure that you are answering the question that's asked, because students here want to just say Beach, and that's not the case, right? They're asking for the maximum number, so just be careful there. Let's move on to the next question. So it says, Kumo sells the tickets for 150 Rand each. Okay, so each person that's coming is paying 150 Rand. So this is what they're saying is basically the income. So we've been talking about expenses this whole time, but now we're moving on to the income side of it. Okay, so now it says, draw the income graph from the sale of up to 200 tickets on the same grid as the total costs on answer sheet 1. Okay, so we're going to draw income. Now, this is where students sometimes get a little bit confused because they're like, oh, I don't know really what's going on. Let's go just to our piece of paper here and let's just make sure we're understanding what we're doing. Okay. So, do you agree with me? Right, I'm going to say people and I'm going to say cost for those people. You can call it income if you want to. If I have one person, I get 150 Rand. I'm just going to say here income just so that you understand what I'm saying. If I have 2 people, I have 300. If I have 10 people, I'm going to have 150 times 10, which is 1,500. Okay, and basically I'm plotting all of these points. Let's just see where they said we had to plot up to. It says, draw the income graph for the sale of up to 200 tickets. Okay, so up to 200 tickets. You can kind of do various different amounts here. You could do, what would it be if it was 100, right? If it was 100, you would have 15,000. You could be saying, yo, Margie, I don't know how you're doing that. I'm just doing it in my head, right? You can do it on a calculator if you want to. Track down, go to 200. 200 is going to be 150 Rand times by 200, which is going to give me 30,000 Rand. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go plot these points, right? I'm going to say, okay, I understand in essence what's going on here, right? But let me plot it. So at 0 people, I get 0 money. Okay, then I'm going to say, okay, at 100 people, I said that I'm going to be getting, right? How much am I going to be getting? I said 15,000. So I'm going to plot this up to 15. Oh, that's not the right place. Over there, right? So 100 plotted up. There's 15,000. There's my point. Okay, you must be careful if you need to use your ruler too. At 200, it's going to be 30,000. So plot. There's a point there. You don't have to put mounds and mounds of points, right? All you need to do is you need to have enough points, and I would generally say about 3. About 3 to allow you to actually draw this, right? So do you see I have one there, I have one there, and I have one there, and I'm just going to connect all of them, and we're done, right? Does it tell us to label it? No, it doesn't, right? So that is basically us done, right? So I hope you understood that. You'll get points here, just to show you where you'll get points, because it is for 4 marks. You'll get 1 for the starting point over there, right? You'll get 1 for the end point over there. You'll get 1 for joining the points, so just for the line. And then you have 1 for it being a straight line, okay? So that's basically saying use a ruler, okay? So use a ruler, because some students would have connected it and would have looked a bit strange. Okay, so there's that question done. I'm just going to put that aside for now, and we're going to move on to, that was A. We're going to move on to 1.2.4, and we're going to move on to B. Okay, this is the last question for this video. Let's make sure that we understand it. It says calculate, right, the total profit to be made if she rents the castle venue and pays for 250 people but sells only 194 tickets. So she's paying for this many, but she's only selling that many. So let's firstly work out, right? Let's just remind ourselves, what is profit? Profit equals my income minus my expenses. Okay, that's a very important thing to remember. So let's go and firstly work out our expenses. Okay, you can do these things separately. So our expenses, they said, was castle. So there's castle. Castle, we have a fixed amount of 11,000. So we're going to pay that even if no one comes. I've paid for 250 people. And how much do each of them cost at castle? 25 Rand. So I'm going to say 250 people times 25 Rand, right? And then what we're going to do, plug that into our calculator. Don't take chances here, right? Especially in exam situations where you're getting a bit stressed or whatever. Just go and plug it in. So this is going to be my expenses. Okay, but I'm not done, right? I have to work out my income. So here is my income. So my income is going to be how many people? 194. How much am I charging each of them? 150 Rand. So I'm going to say 194 times 150, right? And I'm going to go and I'm going to work this out in my calculator. 150, and this is how much, just to show you my calculator, there we go, right? 29,100. Okay, but again, I'm not done yet, right? I need to make sure that I actually go and finish off my working out. So profit, right, is going to equal 29,000 minus 29,100 minus the 17,000. So I have that there. You can just put it in like this, right? Again, be very careful that you are actually plugging this in correctly, right? And make sure that you got your answer like that. You put your answer down. Please remember your units. You don't want to be penalized for units. And that is you done, right? And that's us done for this question.